welcome to another edition of the Don't Argue. And off the back of a huge trip to Las Vegas, we didn't get there, Gids, all thanks to Palmerbet. But I'll tell you what,
Outrageous.
mate, how good, two cracking games. It was absolutely magnificent to see for the NRL, wasn't it, mate? I reckon tick, tick, tick. Everything was a massive success, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%, Matty. It looked outstanding. I mean, the match, great crowd. I think there was 40 plus thousand there. Apparently, the noise and the atmosphere was unbelievable. Watching the commentators even talk during the interviews, they struggled to hear each other. So I think it was a great success. Obviously, tens of thousands of Australians travelled over for the game. Sounded like plenty of Americans went as well and attended, and seen some of the comments through the media that there was they enjoyed it. I think, mate, the first game was a cracker. There's plenty of tries scored. That was one question we sort of spoke about there last week was, with the shorter field and narrower, will there be as much space? But the first game, it blew it away. So plenty of tries, open game, even a few head cuts, which I think for the Yanks would have been loving that. So I think it was entertaining, mate, and a real success.
Yeah, mate, you just touched on 40,000 there, 5,000 to the launch night, the live broadcast. Like a lot of Americans talking about it. I think a lot of Americans falling in love with the game, to be honest. They just couldn't believe the spectacle, the hits, the pace of the game, not wearing helmets, not wearing protective gear, thinking that us Aussies are mad. It's just, as I said, Peter V'landys, he copped a bit of flack when this first got announced, but I reckon the AFL and a few other codes will be sitting back going, gee whiz, they've got this right in a big way.
Well, for sure, Matty. We always probably seen AFL as the national game, and even some of their TV deals were bigger than rugby leagues at that stage. But I think rugby league is certainly the pinnacle of Australian sport at the moment, and it was a big play for Peter V'landys to make this call and then pull it off and execute it well. So a great move. I think it's certainly drawn plenty of interest from the Australian media, some American media, and hopefully we'll be able to see some Americans being able to tune in and watch at least a game a week on Fox One over there.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, we're going to call it the good, the bad, the ugly. All right. And the good was obviously the success of the Vegas expedition. We've got another few years to go of it, which I think would be great. And I reckon, Gids, nearly every team in the NRL will be sitting back going, geez, please pick us next year. We want to get up and be part of it. How is that going to work, Gids? Like, do we know? Is there any specific formula or how's it going to go?
Yeah, I believe there is a criteria. I was talking to Denny Medeiros about this earlier in the week, and he's closer to the club at the Newcastle Knights than obviously myself. But I believe there is a criteria from the NRL that the clubs have to tick off and commit to. I don't know if it's me. I'd be thinking, Melbourne Storm, Penrith Panthers. Obviously, you'd have to be in the running for next year. I reckon another Queensland team they'll probably throw in. Maybe the Newcastle Knights being a standalone and big rugby league territory in Newcastle and the Hunter Valley might be a chance, but I'm not sure about the detail of the criteria. But I reckon there would have been plenty of envious NRL players and clubs at their last weekend that wish they could have participated and played and experienced what the other players did on the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's get to the bad now. Okay. And the Broncos lost, and of course the Bunnies. And we spoke about this last week. These were probably the two teams I think the pressure was going to be on, if they didn't get the results they were after to start the season. And a little bit of heat just coming, probably more so for the Bunnies, I reckon, Gids.
Yeah, I think so, Manny. Probably because of the way they bowed out last year. So poorly, I think, and they'd say that themselves that they were, in the premiership running early in the year and even mid-year, but they finished the year pretty ordinary. So I think there was some expectation and pressure on them going into this game. I did tip Manly. I think you tipped them, mate, as well. So I did like.
I flipped to the Bunnies.
Did you?
I should have stuck with
Okay. But mate, Turbo was outstanding. I thought, I just thought with Luke Brooks having a real fresh start and a new club, and the pressure was off him with Daly Cherry Evans being the halfback. So yeah, mate, as far as the good, the bad, I thought the Bunnies were probably the poorer of the losing teams. But again, mate, I thought the Broncos struggled attack wise to really break down the Roosters, and I thought they lost their way a little bit. I just didn't think they were threatening.
Yeah, a few little errors, I reckon, even defensively. I don't know. I just thought they maybe went off the line a bit early and that nice little flick pass out the back, and they scored a try from kind of nowhere. When I think the Broncos were kind of building a little bit in that second half, Gids, and then you kind of all of a sudden your back's against the wall, so you start throwing the ball around a bit more, I guess, and then mistakes happen, doesn't it?
For sure, mate. I thought Tedesco was outstanding, Matty, in his first game for this year. Obviously, he come under a fair bit of, I thought, unwarranted criticism, to be honest, last year. I mean, you don't knock a champion like him. He's a great competitor. He's a really skillful player. He's a huge work ethic, and it was great to see him back in form. And mate, what an outstanding new segment too. This is the Palmerbet boys have been thinking about all off season, the
Yes,
good,
mate.
the bad, and the ugly.
Hey, the ugly sitting right here in Warrnambool in the studio. I can tell you. Hey, let's get to the ugly, and we have to touch on it. Obviously, the racial vilification, and it's all going to go out and play through the system and all that. But Spencer Lanui, he's looking at a long stint on the sidelines. If proven, that he has said what is alleged as well, Gids. It's a really tricky area, isn't it, mate? And and if it has been said, it needs to be dealt with and dealt with harshly.
Yeah, for sure, mate. Look, it goes through the process now. It goes through the judiciary. They'll review every bit of camera footage and the microphones that are in and around the field. So uh, he's going to be in some strife if he's found guilty. That's for sure. There's no place for it in the game. I thought it was a really if he is guilty, it's a really ridiculous comment for him to say on the field. To be honest, a person, if he's stature in the game, and he's still a young fella, but maybe it's a bit of a brain snap. But it just, it's a silly comment. It's going to be very, very costly if he's found guilty. It was disappointing for it to come out of the game and after such a big weekend, but I don't think it overshadowed the success of the Magic round. But
Yeah.
yep, he's in some strife at the moment. Spencer Linier.
Yeah, absolutely is, mate. And there'll be plenty more to play out there, Gids, in regards to that. Hey, let's go back and have a look at our tips for last week. So you were all over the Seagulls. You were all over the Broncos. So you got 1 out of 2, mate. So that is a tick. And I'm actually none from 2, Gids.
Done
Right
from two.
case for me, mate. So not a good start. Now, the best bet, now, Gids, I must admit, I thought you were a little bit stiff here, to be honest. Of course, you had Manly to win and Turbo to score a try at any time. Look likely.
Yeah, man, I
Honest.
thought Turbo might have been a chance in the second half too. I was just hoping for someone just to break through and Turbo just supporting and go through untouched, but couldn't quite get there. I had a little side bet actually. I had Eagles to win and Latrell Mitchell and Turbo to score, and I still couldn't get Turbo over the line. Latrell scored, but had a bit of value there too.
Yeah, good to see Turbo back in some form too. He's going to be the key to Manly and their success. He just breaks those lines for mine. My best bets last week, I had the Broncos to win in the Reece Walsh anytime try scorer, so a little tick there. Katoni Staggs didn't play out his side much, to be honest, kids. I was a little bit disappointed watching. I just kept saying, throw it back out this way, for God's sake.
Yeah, no, he's such a strong carrier of the ball, Tony Staggs, and he's explosive and great friend on him, but didn't see a lot of ball. And probably, I think he missed probably a couple of tackles too. I thought they were a little bit average on their edges, the Broncos, and a little bit vulnerable. So they got a little bit to work on. They got, I think it's a 10-day turnaround, most of those teams till they play again. So a bit to work on for the Bunnies and the Bronx.
Now, kids, wouldn't you like to have been a fly on the wall, that little motel rendezvous in the middle of the night or
Oh, yeah.
after dinner? Wouldn't that be? There was tension still running high, no doubt, and
Yeah,
could have
yeah, crossing paths. Interesting to have all the teams staying in one hotel. It's a recipe for disaster, that is.
What are they doing there, kids? What is the
Yeah,
only downside?
must have done a deal with the casino there. Might have been one of Peter Volandi's deals for Vegas, but dangerous to have all four teams staying in one venue. That's for sure, especially after a night out.
Unbelievable, mate. Hey, listen, let's move along to the remaining round 1 games. And it is going to be an absolute ripper to start us. It's the Knights taking on the Raiders. And these are both Palmerbet sponsored teams, kids. All right. So both our favourite sons.
Match of the round.
It's match of the round. Thursday night.
Mate, I'm catching up with the Palmerbet boys, actually. Catching up with the boys before the game. So I'm going to go and see a few of the supporters there at their, and I think I've got a little gig at halftime on the field for them. So can't wait to see the boys.
What are we
and girls.
kick a goal from 45 or something, or what are we thinking?
No, I think there's a best try celebration, maybe. Yeah, on field. So I think they're running a bit of a competition, the Palmerbet gang. So
Love it.
should be exciting to see. Match day sponsors.
Get along and get amongst it at McDonald Jones Stadium, 8 p.m. this Thursday night. It's going to be huge. Good to have NRL back in Australia and back on the TV screens. Head to head, the Knights $1.42, Raiders at $2.88 at the line. Knights minus $7.5, $1.82. Raiders plus $7.5 at $1.90. Key talking points, all thanks to Palmerbet. Knights had a cracking 2023, 10 straight to finish the season. They were absolutely on fire. New look Raiders team. Jack White moving to South in the off-season. Corey Horber and Seb Chris both unavailable due to suspension. And the revenge game, the Knights ended the Raiders season last year in the first week of the finals with a 30-28 victory in Newcastle. Who could forget it, kids? It was a cracker. Plenty at stake to kick off the season.
Yeah, for sure, Matty. I think it was, reflecting on that game, it was one of the greatest games in the history of Newcastle from an atmosphere point of view. There was a real buzz around town, that's for sure. And the players had obviously gone on a 10-game run or 9-game run, I think it was at that stage. But I think the Raiders will be right up for this game. Obviously round one, every team wants to get off to a great start, and I think the Raiders will come to town with some optimism of what they did. They took the Knights to extra time in that game last year. They were, as far as coming up against a tough crowd and vocal crowd, they took it to the Knights and they took them to extra time and just got pipped, unfortunately for the Raiders. But, mate, I think it's going to be another huge crowd. It'll be close to sold out again for the Newcastle Knights, which is exciting. And I don't know, mate, the coaching staff and all the players have been working really, really hard. And there's a lot of belief in the club at the moment. But they'll want to get off to a great start and continue that momentum of what they experienced at the back end of last year. So I noticed the team list today. Adam O'Brien's gone with Jackson Hastings and Tyson Gamble as the starting halves. So there was a lot of competitiveness there with Jack Cogger coming in from Penrith. But he's stuck loyal, Adam O'Brien. And Jack Cogger will be coming off the bench. Kai Pearce-Paul makes his NRL debut too from the UK. So tall, rangy back rower, good leg speed. So keep an eye on him off the bench as well. But I was looking at the Raiders pack, mate. They've still got a strong pack. Papali, Joseph Tarpany, Hudson Young, Hoskins, new signing, Tommy Starling off the bench. So still got a strong pack.
Yeah. So you're with the Knights though, mate? Surely.
Knights minus $7.5, about $1.80.
Beautiful, Gids. On with your Knights to kick the season off with a flyer, and I really want to see that momentum build as the season goes on. I reckon they've added some quality into that team, which is really exciting. Let's turn our attention to the Warriors taking on the Sharks Friday, 6 p.m. at Go Media Stadium. Head-to-head, Warriors $1.54. Sharks at $2.48, Gids. At the line, the Warriors minus $4.5, $1.90. Sharks plus $4.5 at $1.89. Key talking points here. The Warriors, all eyes will be on the return of Raja Tulvasi-Sheik, who returns to the Warriors after a stint in rugby union. For the Sharks, after a disappointing end of the 2023 season, they'll be looking to improve, and the inclusion of star halfback Nico Hines and break the hoodoo. The Sharks have lost 9 of their last 10 round one games, kids. That is pretty damn.
Wow.
That one.
That's a pretty ordinary stat, that one, that's for sure. Look, I think it's going to be a tough one for them too. The Sharks over at we'll Go Media Stadium. The Warriors, they'll have a huge crowd. I think they sold out their trial game, so that's going to be an indication of how many roll up for round one.
Kids, they were good.
They're going to have a huge crowd there.
Were they?
Mate, they were good.
Yeah,
they were good. I think it's going to be a really tough one for the Sharks. Tough crowd, tough environment to go over there round one. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck back in the NRL in centre, so I think he'll be out to impress again, being back in the game that he probably feels most comfortable in. Adam Fanua-Blake at front row, he's dangerous, great footwork and great ball skills like a halfback. So I think they'll be really tough to beat. And in fact, I'll tip the Warriors 13 plus.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm with you, Gids. I reckon 13 plus the bet here. I just reckon that they're going to really build from last year, and they're just so hard to beat at home. Big home ground advantage for mine. They had a couple of years COVID where they obviously had to travel and they lived over here for a long period of time, but I reckon they got their feet back on the ground over there, and they're building.
Mate, they got momentum and belief too, many. That's always been a real danger for New Zealand Warriors at any era, any year, is when they believe in themselves. That's dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. Righto, let's move along. Doubleheader on Friday night, of course. Storm v the Panthers. Friday, 8:05, Amy Park, head-to-head. The Storm, 224. Panthers, $1.65. Now, just remembering, keep in mind, I think it's 22 or 23 in a row. Round one wins for the Storm. So they are the outsiders here, believe it or not, coming up against the defending champs. At the line, the Storm plus $3.50, Panthers minus $3.50, $1.90. Storm get back Pappenhausen. This is huge. Geez, I love to see him just come out, just get some minutes and get amongst it.
Yeah, for sure.
Have a crack. He's a ripping young kid. Little bit of question mark over Cam Munster. All right, so this is going to be huge. A little bit tight in the hammy. Panthers coming off the back of a loss in the World Club Challenge. So does that have any effect? Their confidence might be down. And Panthers looking too, kids. This is huge, to become the first team since the 1950s and 60s to win 4 straight titles. So there's that little added pressure. And just getting back to the Storm, their round one record, the Storm has not lost round one since 2001. And Craig Bellamy has never lost round one in his 2-decade reign as head coach. That is one of
unbelievable stat. That's, mate, you reckon, Belly be aware of that for sure. And I'm sure the media are talking about that during the press conferences, and they'll deflect, any type of that attention. But deep down, they'll want to get off to a good start. There's no doubt about it. Craig Bellamy will be driving an extremely high standard around what he expects out of the players for round one. So, I like the Storm at $2.34. That's head-to-head on the Palmerbet app. So,
and what a perfect corner. We know Craig Bellamy's an unbelievable coach, but, like a perfect storyline for these guys is to beat the defending champs, to make a bit of a stamp, to make a mark. And that's where Bellamy's at his best, isn't he?
Well, yeah, he is for sure, Matty. It's at Amy Park too, so the Storm, are really tough down there as well. I thought
it's hot
again
down
from
here
memory.
on the two kids. It's hot.
Was it? Yeah, okay.
35.
Mate, I think from memory last year too. I thought Penrith got beaten the World Cup Challenge by St Helens, but they came out of that game a bit sluggish too. I think they started last year with a loss. I'm sure they did. They lost it.
They did
home, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think with the Panthers, traveling to the UK, obviously putting plenty of effort into that game. They didn't take that lightly. They wanted to win that World Club Challenge for sure, and it was a really tough and tight game, and muddy and wet, and it was physically tough. They took it to the Wigan Warriors. Travel coming back again. I think they could be a little bit sluggish. I'm going Storm head to head.
Geez, we're going similar here, mate, because I'm always going to be on the Storm, especially with that round one strike rate. That is unbelievable. Hey, listen, let's move on to the next one. Eels taking on the Bulldogs, Saturday, 5:30, CommBank Stadium, head-to-head. Eels, $1.44, Bulldogs, $2.80, all thanks to Palmerbet. At the line, the Eels minus $5.50, $1.80. Bulldogs plus $5.50, $1.94. Key talking points. Of course, Parramatta looking to bounce back after missing the finals last year. But they have got a bit of a loss to kind of cover in round 1, too, with Mako Sivo out through suspension, the try-scoring machine. For the Bulldogs, new look team, they got their 5-year plan. We know all about that stuff. Premiership Panthers premiership winner Steve Crichton jumps on board. So there's a
big signing
around about that. And you talk about rebuilds to start the 24 season. The Bulldogs do not have one player from the 2021 team. So that's only 3 years ago.
Yeah.
That's a huge turnover.
Mate, huge turnover, Matty. And obviously Gus has been brought in to do a huge job and get rid of some players that don't fit the culture of what the club is there about. They've brought in some old boys to help with that culture. I know over the last couple of years, Andrew Ryan and Willie Mason have been doing a bit of work back there. And Cameron Serraldo, great up-and-coming coach, but I think a pretty tough year last year for him. I think they were pretty poor defensively last year, and I reckon that was what Ciro was pretty disappointed about. Look, I think the pressure's on the Eels here, to be honest. Grand final winners there 2 years ago and didn't make the 8 last year at CommBank Stadium, and I think the Bulldogs can ambush them. To be honest, I haven't tipped the Bulldogs in this game. I still think the Eels can get it done. But if I was part of the Bulldogs team, I'd be looking right at. I'd certainly be talking to my playing group and talking about an ambush here, because I think the Eels are the ones who are under pressure to get off to a good start because,
Yeah.
mate, the vultures are circling already for the Eels, and the season hasn't kicked off as far as a headline point of view.
That's the issue, isn't it? The pressure's really on them. Spotlight's going to be on them, and they need to start the season well. If they don't, look out, kids. I'm sticking with the Eels, mate, for what it's worth.
Yep.
I just think they might get the job done, but Steve Crichton, certainly a big addition. So it's
Yeah,
going.
big addition, mate. I keep hearing about he's a real professional and a real leader from his time at Penrith, and then since he's arrived at the Dogs. So um, I think he'll have an influence on his teammates.
Absolutely will. Right, let's turn our attention now to the Titans taking on the Dragons. Saturday, 7:35 at Seabus Super Stadium, head-to-head. Titans $1.50, Dragons $2.60. Titans at the line minus $5.5, $1.89. Dragons plus $5.5, $1.91. Key talking points here for the Titans. Desi Hasler gets his first preseason in. They will be without Jaden Campbell for round one. For the Dragons, Shane Flanagan era begins with 8 new recruits signed in the off-season. Really disappointing last year and not a happy hunting ground. The Dragons have lost 4 of their last 6 games against the Titans, including their last 4 games at Seabus Super Stadium. Bit of pressure here on both these teams for mine, Gids.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's the line drawn in the sand, mate, with Desi coming in as head coach again. I think he'll be excited to be back in a head coaching position. And, I know he'll be holding all the players really accountable over this preseason. You would have had to earn your spot in this team for sure. Shane Flanagan obviously been out of the game for a little bit as head coach as well. And I think for Flano, certainly a lot of talk, mate, around, trying to retain Ben Hunt there last year. He was all but gone. He wanted to go. He was ready to leave halfway through the season, but here he is lining up for the Dragons yet again as the starting half. I think Kyle Flanagan, Ben Hunt will be really good for Kyle Flanagan. I don't think Kyle Flanagan's probably had a rock solid experienced half to work with previous in his career, so I think he'll benefit from that. And I thought the Dragons were impressive in, I forget what trial game it was. It was at Cogra, but I thought their attacking shape looked good. I thought their forward pack played well. Moses Sully, strong in the centres. So I think they've turned a little bit of a corner, but they've still got to have that consistency week to week, mate, which is what they haven't had over the last few years, that's for sure. So a little bit of uncertainty about this game, but I'm going to lean towards the Dragons and probably just from what I've seen in that trial game at Cogra.
Yeah, righto, mate. So Dragons to get the job done at $2.60, Gids. So nice little bit of value there for our Palmerbet, the Don't Argue followers. I'm sticking with the Titans. I reckon they're the team that might, and I said this last week, play a little bit of finals action this year. So, we'll see how that plays out. Final game on Sunday. It's the Dolphins taking on the Cowboys. This is going to be a beauty too. 405 Suncorp Stadium, head-to-head. Dolphins $2.60. Cowboys $1.50. At the line, the Dolphins plus $5.5, $2. Cowboys minus $5.5, $1.81. Key talking points here. Dolphins looking to recreate the great start to 2023. We go back 12 months, kids, and they kicked off the season huge. So they got Herbie Farnsworth, Tommy Flegler, along with the return of half Sean O'Sullivan. I reckon they are cherry ripe. I just reckon they're cherry ripe on their home deck, effectively. Cowboys, they missed the finals last year. They'll be looking to bounce back, and they tend to have one bad year, one good year. And hanging with the boys. In their first season, the Dolphins won 3 of their 6 Derby games against the other Queensland teams. Cowboys won 2 of 6 in the Derby games last year. I reckon the Dolphins,
Decent effort.
they are the value of the weekend at $2.60, Gids, head-to-head.
Yep, no, I'm with you, Matty. I'm on the Dolphins here, head to head for sure. I like the speed. Hemiso had a great year last year, going from the Cowboys to the Dolphins and moving into that fullback. Had a good Origin series as well, so I think he'll be, a lot more confident than what he was coming into last year. Jermaine Osako, I think he was right up there with the highest point scorer. Great goal kicker, good finisher. Tessin Yu, strong in the centres. Herbie Farnworth, great signing, strong too, physically strong. So I think they've got an experienced pack. Jesse Bromwich, Thomas Flegler, Felice Kafusi. So, mate, they've got some experienced guys who will certainly be driving a pretty high standard and holding everyone accountable. So I think there's some good value here. Dolphins head-to-head to $2.60.
Couldn't agree more, Gids. Could not agree more, mate. Now, listen, so give me your selections for the 6 games for your bets for the weekend, mate. I'm just going to get those odds
Right,
up.
mate. Get those odds up, mate. Knights, Thursday night, victory at home, kick the year off.
Yep.
Warriors at home over in New Zealand. Melbourne Storm at home as well at Amy Park. Eels against the Dogs. I'm not too certain about that one, but I'm going to go with the Eels on this one to kick the year off. That's at Combank Stadium as well. Dragons away against the Titans at the Goldie Seabus.
Yep.
And then finally Dolphins at home, or at Suncorp Stadium actually, against the Cowboys. Upset. So there's probably a bit of value there, mate, with a couple of upsets.
Mate, that is unbelievable. We are very, very similar, Gids. The only difference for me being I've actually I've gone Newcastle Knights, New Zealand Warriors, Melbourne Storm to get the job done. I've gone Parramatta to get the job done. Gold Coast Titans to win, and the Dolphins.
Titans, have you? Yep.
So 28.92. So we're one different there, but still good value. A lot of value there, which is awesome. Now, what about the Gids Get On, big fella? This is what everyone waits for.
Mate,
each and every
This is it. This is what they've been demanding, mate, all off-season. The Gids Get On for kick-off round one. This week, mate, is the Warriors, 13+.
Hang on. Back the truck up here, mate. You haven't gone your Newcastle Knights in your Gids Get On. I thought this would be an absolute moral here.
Nah, mate. Nah, listen. I can't be, mate, biased towards my selections week to week. I've never done that before.
Right,
there's a difference between biased and loyal.
You're going Warriors. This is unbelievable, right? So keep going, Warriors.
Mate, Warriors 13+, and Zalesniak anytime try scorer. I think he's a great finisher, Dallin. So I think he'll pick up one if the Warriors get 13+. At least one he'll get.
364, all thanks to the team at Palmerbet Gids. So that is a nice little
2 legs, not bad.
2 legs. You're nearly getting $4. Righto, Matty's must-have. Making its debut.
Matty's must-have. That's got a great ring to it.
Righto, Gids. I'm going to the Storm, mate. You know I love the Storm, big fella. I reckon it's going to be tight. It'll be a 1-12 margin, Gids. In the my man Pappenhausen to score, and I reckon Nathan Cleary will score from the Panthers side of things. So anytime try score of both those boys, and we're looking at 37.74.
Holy dooly, better than my $3.60.
That's all right, mate. As long as it gets up, it doesn't matter, Gids. We're just going to collect. That's all we want for the following.
That's it.
Hey, download the Palmerbet app. Get involved. It's really simple. It's great to have the NRL back on. There's so many options there too to get amongst it and stuff. And as we always say, gamble responsibly and think about what you're gambling with. And also get involved with us. Get into us. If we're talking crap or we're talking dribble, let us know. Whack your multis up here as well.
Yeah, put the multis up. I'd love to see a couple of cracking multis.
Hey, if you're going to bet a multi than us and you're smacking it, you're kicking it out of the park, let us know about it, Gids, hey?
Yeah, 100%. Definitely love a good multi, and mate, they're so easy. Once I worked out the just press the little same game multi button, the world is your oyster.
Yes, that's it, big fella. Hey, love it, Gids. Great to see it back. A huge success, the Las Vegas expedition, mate. Hopefully, Newcastle Knights and the Canberra Raiders can get a Guernsey next year, mate. And who knows? Palmerbet team
they'll have to fly. I tell you what, if the Canberra Raiders and Newcastle Knights, both Palmerbet sponsored teams, they'll have to fly us in, surely. We'll be hosting a live show on the Strip, mate, like Fox Sports were there the other day.
Didn't they take a team and a half over there, mate? I think we're working for an organisation, Gids. Unbelievable, mate. Hey, listen, I look forward to the weekend round of footy. All kicks off on Thursday night, mate. We'll talk next week, buddy.
100%, matey. All the best, everyone.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.